diagram for the
Yeah. Yeah, that shows the frontal section with the nuclei. Yes. Okay, let's take a look at the spinal cord. Oh, and let me just say about the brain. On the written exam, you guys know you need to know basic functions. So for the different parts of the brain, you do need to know where they're located, like what region of the brain structures are located in. So for instance, what part of the brain is the pineal gland located in?
Cortex. Midbrain.
Pineal gland is part of the diencephalon. Diencephalon. Okay. What part of the brain is the red nucleus located in? Red nucleus? Midbrain. What part of the brain are the pyramids in? Medulla. Okay, so you need to know for each part of the brain all the structure is located there. Okay, so think about, when you're going over all those different structures, remember what part of the brain they're in, and basic functions. Okay, on the spinal cord, you guys of course need to know horns of the gray matter, columns or funiculi in the white matter, and you can see all that on these models. For the tracks, this does not show you all the tracks in the white matter. I would not have you identify them here because you can't see them. But remember, you have those diagrams in chapter 16 that show you the tracks. So those will be on the test. Just the tracks that we talked about, you need to be able to identify. So remember when we were just talking about lateral spinothalamic, I kind of circled it there. Anterior spinothalamic, the fasciculus gracilis, and cuneatus. Corticospinal tracts, just the ones we talked about, okay? For the written exam, you need to know the information that they carry. Okay, now on this model, you can see the parts of the spinal nerve. And so let's talk about that a little bit. This part back here is called what? It is a posterior or dorsal root. What kind of neurons travel through there? Sensory, right. And where are their cell bodies?
Middle.
Where are they? What structure are the cell bodies in?
Ganglion.
Which ganglion?
Dorsal root.
The dorsal root ganglion, right. So remember, for these ganglia, you want to say exactly what the name of the ganglion is. If you just say ganglion, I would give you a half point. Because ganglion is a general term. It's like saying just nucleus. You want to give the name, okay?
So it'd be dorsal ganglion?
Dorsal root ganglion or posterior root ganglion. Okay. And the anterior root carries what type of neurons? Motor. Where are their cell bodies?
And the spinal nerve.
Well, they're in the anterior horn of the gray matter, right? Cell bodies are in the anterior horn of the gray matter. The axons travel on the anterior root of the spinal nerve. Okay, what is this structure right here? It's the posterior ramus of the spinal nerve, right? This is the spinal nerve where the two roots come together. That is the spinal nerve. Okay, now remember the spinal nerve splits into two rami. This one is posterior. The larger one is anterior, right? And coming off of that ramus, remember we have this is the gray ramus for the sympathetic neurons. And so this is what right here? It's a sympathetic ganglion. You can say sympathetic trunk, sympathetic ganglion, sympathetic chain. That's all okay. But again, if you just say ganglion, it's a half point. Okay? You guys have any questions on any of that?
If you have no idea, just put ganglion.
Ganglion's okay. Yeah, I mean, I'll give you a half point. It is a ganglion, but you want to be specific. Same thing with the brain. You guys know, like if I point to something and you say, like pineal gland here, if you say diencephalon, I would give you a half point. So if you're completely lost and you can't think of the name of a structure and you want to name the area that it's in, the region of the brain it's in, I would give you a half point for that. Okay? Okay, so let's talk about some spinal nerves. You guys know that you need to know for the written exam what spinal nerves form the different plexuses. So what spinal nerves form the cervical plexus?
Phrenic.
C1 through C5.
Oh.
Right, and the nerve that comes out of that, you see traveling down here,
It's a
down
phrenic.
to the diaphragm is?
Phrenic.
Phrenic. And what are these nerves in here? In the thoracic
Intercostal?
region?
Intercostal.
Intercostal nerve?
They're actually called intercostal, right? These are the anterior rami of the thoracic spinal nerves, right? The anterior ramus is the one that comes around toward the front of the body, okay, and supplies the skin and muscle here. Okay, so these are called intercostal nerves. And how about, what is this nerve that's traveling right down the center?
Median. Median.
Median, very good. The one that's more medial is
Ulnar.
Right, just remember the ulna is medial. So the one that's lateral would be
The radial.
radial. Okay, what is the biggest nerve in the body?
Sciatic.
Sciatic. And you guys know when that gets to just about the knee, it's going to split. The one that goes out toward the lateral side, it disappears here because this leg is turned, so you see the medial aspect. This is the common fibular, right? It's going toward the fibula. You can also see it over here, right next to the head of the fibula. It's the common fibular. Okay, so the other one here that comes down from the sciatic is the tibial. Yeah, tibial. Okay, and then the one that comes down toward kind of the anterior thigh
Femoral.
is femoral. And then the smaller one that comes toward the medial thigh,
Obturator.
obturator. Okay, very good. What's a little thing that comes off the spinal cord that's attached to the coccyx?
Oh, the...
Cara equina.
No, it's not cara...
Cara equina.
Phylum terminale. There you go.
Right. And the horse's tail is the
Cluster.
cauda equina. Okay, what's the end of the spinal cord called? The pointed end?
Conus medullaris.
Conus medullaris. Right. Okay. Very good. What's this nerve over here that supplies the shoulder?
Maxillary.
Maxillary. Yes. Okay, what else is there? Autonomic nervous system. Okay, you guys know there's going to be a diagram where you will have to identify the white and the gray rami, right? Sympathetic trunk. You can see the sympathetic trunk on this model of the spinal cord. You guys okay with this model, or do you want to look at it?
I'm gonna hurt you.